Chad, thanks for hopping on our first episode / conversation of Redox Evolution Midwest 2025. We'll be doing these weekly, bi-weekly conversations to enhance farm IQ at the farm gate, talking about opportunities in the field, Redox technology, how we can help, getting some feedback given market conditions. So welcome, and I'm excited to get started.
This is going to be fun. Yeah, thanks for the invitation. 2025 is here. Let's go.
Yeah. I am part of the Midwest launch team, bringing Redox technology to the farmers in that area. So excited to, like I said, talk about our technology, our background stuff, get your perspective as we go into 2025 with these, market conditions and everything, all these headwinds that are affecting farmers right now. But, we got to move forward and we've got a crop to plant. So.
That's right. It's no different than every other year as a producer, right? Something we get thrown a curveball, and then how do we adjust? How do we adapt? How do we overcome? And that's why our industry is like no other. There's not a year that we're not going to wake up and think about how to make money as a producer. But we do have to make those adjustments. And excited to be here with you today. Here, if you look at it, 2025 seemed like it was a long time ago. I think we were supposed to have flying cars, right? We were supposed to have all these other things, but by now
We have flying drones, though.
right. Well, and I think that's why I'm excited to work with y'all and try to figure out, really, I look at it like advancing farmer education, advancing farm IQ, right? Like on farm IQ. If you look at most producers out there today are looked at as, oh, I'm the dumb farmer. These guys are highly intelligent. They are very dialed into what they're doing and how they're doing it. I think it's interesting what you guys are doing as Redox Bionutrients, building the education platform to help them better understand what works, where does it work best, and then how do we make those adjustments? No different than 25, right?
Yeah, 100%. And Chad, it's something we've been doing at Redox for over 30 years. Part of the reason why I joined the Redox team is family-owned business. The Moon family has been up and running out of Burley, Idaho for 30 years and working with farmers arm in arm in a partnership together to learn together about what technology makes the biggest impact on the field.
Well, so and that's,
Yeah.
like I look at that, I mean, as the consistent or constantly learning. I mean, that's why we go to farm shows. That's why we go to events. And I think the unique thing that you guys are doing is bringing that education to a producer. And I think it's some of the tools that I've seen in play. And I know you'll probably talk a little bit about the Cypher tool, but creating awareness on, again, like in-field conditions, I think you look for a solution for a producer before you sell a product. That's unique in this marketplace. Whether you believe that or not, most folks are looking to sell a product and then try to figure out if it works. I think the approach that you take, and we can talk a little bit more about that maybe today too. When you sit down on a farm, you look for solutions. You don't say, "Hey, here's the product that we have." I think that's unique.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have over 30 products. We have an organic line. We're in over 20 countries. So we've got plenty of products to pull from, but I would never assume walking down a driveway, driving down a driveway that I know better than the farmer, right? And that's where it starts with a conversation, asking questions, and really leveraging the agronomic tools that we have, that we offer to our customers to find out where the best opportunities are in the field. Again, especially where guys are looking to squeeze out as much as they can out of every dollar. Like, we can actually rifle in real specific on where the opportunities are and create a strategy together of what makes sense at the farm rather than me kind of pushing a product down somebody's throat.
Well, and you talk about, decades, right? If not centuries of being on a farm. If you look at a producer, they know that dirt really well. I will say, even on my farm, I'm not saying we do everything right, but we've done a lot of things the right way to be able to still be here today, right? But I do think that there's those adjustments that we talked about, just like we're going to have to adjust in 2025 to what we do as producers. We've done that adjustment on our farm over the years. And so, you look at decades, right? Speaking of decades, Redox has been around for just over 30 years. And you look at, kind of the way you've been able to bring alongside the producer to be able to help perfect products over time. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'll say, just, part of our process improvement and our focus to continue process improvement is that we have an ISO 9001 certification, which, for the guys out there that might be have an engineering background, but all of our standard operating procedures, we open up the books at our manufacturing plants to show that everything that we say is on label, that is in the bottle, is actually there. So we hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we want to be transparent to our customers to say, you can trust that when you buy one of our solutions, it is what it says it is. And on top of that, we have a continued pipeline of R&D and development, whether it's 6+ patents, we've got more coming. We've got 40 trademarks and 30 years of proprietary experience, creating these custom blends, I'd say, and chemical reactions to make the biggest impact at the farm gate.
Really cool. And I think so for somebody that doesn't know ISO 9000 or 9001, it's all about quality, right? When I think
Yeah.
of quality manufacturing, I don't know, there maybe are some, and I'm sorry if I offended somebody here, but I don't know of many chemistry companies that are out there, chemical fertility companies that are using these practices. And I think there is something unique about that, right? When I talk to some of the folks that I know really well, oh, something worked this year, but it's not working next year. I think when you look at Redox products, when you look at the consistency in that product, we
Yeah.
can look at something else other than, oh, I wonder if it's the same product in the jug, right? Is that a good way to look at it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we had consistency, win rates, efficacy, like that goes hand in hand with our ISO 9000. So we can tell you that you can depend on that product performing.
Which is
Yeah.
really cool, right? Because if we look at all the different factors in farming, we know that on this piece of dirt, I got 160 acres. I'm looking for that product to do X, Y, Z. And if I know that it did X and Y, but it didn't do Z, I can say, well, I know for sure that the product that's in the jug is the product that's in the jug. And I think that the ISO 9000 is, again, a testament to the quality, and knowing what's in the jug will be there. I think you said something about just over 30 some odd products. I know there's some organic products that I've had a chance to work with myself. But if you look at the products, that's awesome. But when you talk about your approach coming to my farm, what's the first thing you do? Like if
Yeah.
you're a traditional salesperson, right? But I think you guys are built a little bit different on how you take an agronomic approach to learning about an operation. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I think, going to farms in the Midwest, which I've been doing over the past couple months, introducing redox technology, a lot of guys, find it refreshing that, the first thing that I'm doing when I'm going down a driveway is asking questions and learning about the opportunities at the farm. And so we have a set of really great tools, resources that we provide farmers. Cipher Report is probably the first one I think of. It's a very special soil report that we use in tandem with, traditional malic chemical extraction. And we offer this as part of doing business together. We're not in the business of lab and lab testing, right? We're in the business of plant nutrition and plant energy. However, we're not going to sit there and push a product that isn't going to provide you the best ROI. So that Cipher report, and really it's just a composite soil report, will give you the soluble pounds per acre of a mineral ion that you have in that first 6 inches of micropore space. I was literally just talking to a guy this morning about that, and he's got some sandy soil on the East Coast. He's doing cotton and peanuts, and that's, you scratch your head a lot of times when you're, let's take phosphorus, for example, right? You got a lot of guys, they get their soil report, they've got high ppms, they know it's not plant available, right? And you see that either walking the field, doing your tissue test and your sap analysis. But the Cipher report can actually give you a number to that. Like, for example, we'd say you've got 0.3 pounds per 6 inches available, or calcium's another one. Which I would say specifically in the Midwest is the biggest aha, is, look, I know I've got a bank, right? And my base saturation levels might be right in alignment with what I need to be, but I don't know, man. I think there's something going on there. And that's where this Cipher report will actually tell you, hey, look, you don't have a lot of soluble calcium, yet that might be a deficiency. You might have a deficiency in soluble magnesium or manganese. It's a
Hmm.
tool in the toolbox. It's not a silver bullet. In combination with guys that are doing all the right things, right? I would never assume that somebody's out there running a successful farm operation, I'm going to be able to tell him something that better than he knows. I can only provide you more information and more tools, and then we can work together on a solution. That's one example of what we would do first.
Well, I think that's uniquely interesting. In fact, there's a lot of people that maybe identify a need, right, over a period of time, and then understanding if that need is actually working, right? I think that you looked at you had mentioned a Malik 3 test. When you look at the traditional approach, shoot, we've been doing that for better part of a half a century, right? The last 50, 60 years. I did find that interesting. The Cipher, which is a great name, by the way, right? Deciphering that Cipher tool, the ability to actually look deeper into basically what a Malik 3 would be. The one that you had showed me was 40 some odd different pieces. And even though we were looking at, the nutrient levels, I think I'm an irrigator, right? But one of the things that I thought was really interesting is the bicarbonate levels, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was tying up a lot of and didn't know that, right? We had never really looked at that, but that was a really cool piece of the puzzle. So I think that is a refreshing approach, Aimee. And I think I'm not telling you to pat yourself on the back, but that is cool, right? That is something as a producer I like to hear, creating that understanding of or a better understanding back to farmer IQ. I think
Right.
that is a huge piece of the puzzle as us as producers. We have to get better over time and understanding what tools work best where is a big piece of the puzzle. Let me ask you. You had talked a little bit about you talked about plant energy or the
Mm-hmm.
energy business. And I
Yep.
think when you look at plant charge balance, there is some confusion in the marketplace. I know
Yeah.
Darren and Redox, Darren Moon is the founder, has been talking about it for well over the last 30 plus years. But plant charge balance is something that gets convoluted in the marketplace. But Redox is the father of plant charge balance as far as terminology. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I would refer back to other webinars and information if you really want to take a deep dive, but high level, when the plant takes in nutrients, all of those nutrients are going to carry a charge, and the plant has to be in a state of balance or homeostasis. So if it has too much negative charge or positive charge, it's going to balance itself out. So the most common example of a plant getting out of whack or out of plant charge balance is when we apply nitrate nitrogen. So plants have evolved over time. They can't not take up nitrogen. They will take it up. And we've all walked through a field where you can tell that there's been over application of nitrogen. You've got tall leafy corn and the cellular walls are kind of weak, right? And it's just it doesn't look healthy. The plant has to take that in and store it in its vacuole. Not only is it going to be storing excess nitrate nitrogen, but that nitrate nitrogen carries a negative charge. So the plant actually has to divert energy away from other systems in order to balance that out. And so 80% of actually the out of balance that happens in plants right now is because of over application of nitrate nitrogen. So that lens of what's happening at a cellular level and that charge that's coming in from nutrients, whether it's positive charge from potassium or calcium or negative charge from nitrogen, that is how we problem solve with our technology. We want to create a healthy, balanced plant and homeostasis, and
Mhm.
that's what all our products are produced to do. Or products have that end in mind to create plant charge balance and plant homeostasis, because what that does is create optimal energy levels. It
Sure.
gets that plant's natural metabolism system up and running and primo, so that it can be the most healthy and resilient plant that it could be.
Aimee,
That translates to yield. So
yeah, I mean, like that's it, right? So that's what intrigued me. I learned about, and this one of the best kept secrets in ag, right? As far as the Midwest is concerned. I mean, being around 30 plus years, when you look at what plant charge balance is, and I look at our farm and I look at the ability to apply nitrogen at mass levels when it's cheaper, right? More is not better. And I think we've created a situation where I look at, even on my farm, 250 bushel corn, right? But I look at my limiting factor is probably myself by over applying nitrogen, right? Because now all of a sudden I look at that tip back, that last little piece that I just can't fill. And I don't know what that is, but I hear you talk about plant charge balance. If I've over applied nitrogen, that energy goes to correcting an issue, which is
right,
balance versus
right,
pushing out yield. And so that
right.
totally makes sense to me. And I think that there's, without talking a lot about your products today, I think that approach is unique. Everybody talks about nitrogen reduction, but then what do you do differently to be able to help, like you said, plant health for a long period of time to optimize yield? I think that's what you guys are doing. That's very unique, and I can't wait to talk more about it.
Yeah, yeah, more to come. So I know this is our kickoff of Redox Evolution Midwest podcast series 2025. It's January. A lot of ground is frozen. Actually, I talked to a guy in Indiana that's going to try to get a soil probe out there. It's going to have a deep freeze coming in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, excited to kick off for the new year. So more to come.
It's gonna be fun. Thanks, Aim.
All right, take care.